Yo, what's good, basketball heads? It's your boy Crush. So I'm gonna do a little cooking today, So I'm gonna have to go to the grocery store. I'm gonna need some pepper. I'm gonna need some onions, some special seasoning. Cause I'm gonna do some real good cooking today. So JJ Redick said Michael Jordan era was watered down. MJ played in a watered down era. So he went on Shaq's podcast recently and he started talking about MJ. And he said, MJ played in a watered down era. They added 6 expansion teams. So they added 90 players and it was watered down. He wasn't talking about the playoffs. He said he's talking about the regular season. So if that's the case, why would it matter? I mean, if you play all the best talent, the best players, the best team in the playoffs, why would you be stressing about the regular season if it was watered down, whatever the case may be? But this is the normal play. They always trying to throw something at Jordan, find ways to discredit the man just to elevate LeBron. So, the normal play. It's always some kind of negative, hate on MJ's achievements. The man won his championships, all his accolades. But here go JJ Redick trying to cater to LeBron. But here is the surprising part in the whole situation. So now on Gilbert's Arenas podcast, I'm surprised the man actually spoke the truth for once. So Gilbert Arenas fact-checked JJ Redick, because a lot of what JJ Redick said was incorrect. But you know how that goes. Dudes just be talking. They don't even do the research first. Dudes just go on a podcast and start talking. Anything that downplays Michael Jordan greatness to elevate LeBron, who needs to fact check? Let's just say whatever. As long as this is going to benefit LeBron, who cares? So surprisingly, Gilbert Arenas actually spoke the truth. And I'm surprised because normally what JJ Redick is saying would be something Gilbert Arenas would be saying. If you know Gilbert Arenas' history when it comes to LeBron, the GOAT debate, and Michael Jordan, normally this is what Gilbert would be saying. So I'm surprised he took another approach. He took another stance. That was real surprising. So this is what Gilbert Arenas had to say, responding to JJ Redick saying, they added 90 players, 6 expansion teams, and it was watered down. It wasn't 15 new players, so technically it wasn't watered down. When they expanded the teams, there were only 12-man roster. So the 15-man roster JJ Redick is talking about don't exist at that particular time. An expansion draft is this. You got 2 teams. The first expansion, there are only 2 teams added to the league, which is Charlotte and Miami. Everyone protected their top 8. That means your bottom 4 get put into the draft. It's not 90 players because they could only pick a possibly 12 each. So only 24 can be drafted from the expansion. Because they only added 2 expansion teams, in theory, we're only going to go after who? The top teams, top 4 best players. We're talking about Lakers, Detroit, Chicago. Whoever team is top. We're going to go after those guys first. We're going to pick 8 players each. We have free agency and then we have the draft. So in theory, you are not watering it down. Because the players being picked are all NBA players. The expansion helped the top teams. At that current time, Michael Jordan wasn't a champion yet. He was still battling Detroit, Lakers, Celtics, etc. He wasn't a part of the elite yet, so the first expansion never benefited Jordan. It benefited the top teams like Lakers, Detroit, etc. So that's what Gilbert Arenas had to say. During the first expansion when they added Charlotte and Miami, Michael Jordan wasn't that guy yet. He wasn't the champion yet, so it never benefited him. It benefited the Lakers, Detroit, the best teams at that time, the top teams. So JJ Redick, he's wrong. The man is basically just talking. He don't even know what he's talking about. And at that time, there were only 12-man rosters. 15-man rosters came later, during the LeBron era. That's when they expanded to 15-man roster. That came in the mid-2Ks. So JJ Redick be talking and he don't know what he's talking about. This man don't do his homework, he don't fact check. He just get on any podcast and start talking. Whatever to assist LeBron in his GOAT debate. If you want to talk about watered down is making the game less physical so your favorite players can play longer and be more marketable for the league. That's what you call watered down. Dudes will go on a podcast and say, give a little speech before they say what they got to say. I'm not trying to be controversial, blah, 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 and then proceed to try to, discredit, diminish Michael Jordan's greatness to elevate LeBron. Like, this shit is sickening, but this is what JJ Redick does all the time. The man just be talking, and half the time he's incorrect with what he's saying. This is the same guy who got mad like a few months back because he says when he gives real basketball, real sports analysis and takes, but when he talk about stuff like, Doc Rivers getting fired or something silly, he get millions of views. So this is that same guy who was upset about that. But then he'll go on a podcast and say some BS that is incorrect and doesn't fact check. This is why you can't take these people serious, man. You can't take them serious because dudes are in pocket and you know the deal already. He's going to say whatever he needs to do to cater to LeBron in the GOAT conversation, even if that means shitting on everybody pre-LeBron. If you notice, the man is always shitting on everybody pre-LeBron. I mean, if you're not from the LeBron era, he shits on you. You're plumbers, you weren't good, you played in a watered-down league. And when dude is talking about GOAT debates, for some reason, Kobe Bryant, he's the invisible man. Kobe never exists because Kobe never played against LeBron. They never existed in the same era. R.I.P. to Kobe. But it's crazy. And people will try to say, oh, Michael Jordan played with a Hall of Fame coach. When Phil Jackson got to the Bulls, what was his resume? Phil Jackson wasn't no Hall of Fame coach. When he first started coaching the Bulls, was he a Hall of Famer? No, he wasn't a Hall of Famer. Michael Jordan made him into a Hall of Famer. If Jordan is not Jordan, Phil Jackson wouldn't have been a Hall of Famer. So MJ made him a Hall of Famer. But they always try to discredit MJ by saying LeBron never played with a Hall of Fame coach. Michael played with a Hall of Fame coach. Kobe played with the same Hall of Fame coach. Like when Phil Jackson first came in the league, he was a Hall of Fame coach. But what was his resume? He became a Hall of Fame coach when he got with Michael. And this is a fact. The same way nobody talks about in 2009 and 2010 seasons, the LeBron Cavaliers were the #1 seed in the entire league, both years. So the man had the best record in the entire league. Somehow he lost, and they'll make excuses. His team wasn't good enough. He's the reason why they got there, because they'll say that, but then they'll turn around and say, you can't win without a team. So how did he get the best record if his team was so bad? How did he manage to do that if his team was so bad? But they'll tell you, the man never had any help. He always had a bad team until he went to Miami. That's what they'll say. In all those years, all those seasons, it was supposed to be Kobe versus LeBron, and LeBron never showed up. They had a commercial. We was anticipating Kobe LeBron in the finals. This was going to final end the debate, who is the best player. This would have ended that whole segment, that whole debate. But Kobe made it almost three-peated, and LeBron never showed up. Case closed. Yet they'll tell you LeBron is greater than Kobe. That's bullshit. And how is the current NBA not watered down when Miami had 4 undrafted dudes last season? Remember, when Miami made it to the finals, they had 4 undrafted players on the team. Is that not watered down? I mean, at this point, it's becoming sad and pathetic, man. Like, LeBron needs everybody in the sports media, all his contemporaries, everybody got to go out and publicly make a speech to assist this man in the GOAT debate. Why can't his game speak like everybody else? If he's the GOAT, his game should speak for itself. Why do everybody got to go out and make a public speech or go on podcasts and try to convince you why LeBron is the best player ever? Because his game can't do that. No other player in the history of the NBA needed someone to champion for them why they're the GOAT or why they're great. If you are great, your game speaks for itself. You don't need anyone to assist you with that. Somehow LeBron needs all the help. Everybody got to keep going on podcasts all over the internet and explaining to you why. MJ never had to do that. Kobe, Tim Duncan, Magic, Larry Bird, none of these players need anyone to do that. If you saw them or you know their game or you saw their films or whatever, their games speak for itself. You don't have to go out and proclaim and make speech, and you don't have to do none of that. If you watch Gilbert Arenas' podcast, you know that Rashad McCann, he's a Kobe guy. You'll hear him defend MJ here, there, but he's a Kobe guy. So he said LeBron played with everyone from his skill camp, which is funny. The man said LeBron have played with everybody from his skill camp. You can't lie. LeBron have played with so many players, and everybody want to be liked by LeBron or be in his good grace. So they'll say whatever they need to back LeBron most of the times. Nobody's trying to be on LeBron's bad side. You know how that goes. And they'll say Phil Jackson made Michael Jordan. But what's funny about that is when Michael went into retirement, why didn't Phil Jackson win the championship with Scottie Pippen? If it's all about the coach, and the coach is the reason why MJ won all his championships and all the accolades, if it's all about the coach, why did Phil Jackson not win when he had Scottie Pippen and Jordan was in retirement? When Jordan stepped away from the game, why did Phil Jackson not win or continue to win? My point exactly. And they'll say, LeBron never had a Hall of Fame coach. It's not Eric Spoelstra's fault that LeBron choked against Dallas. He's not the one on the floor. As you can see, Eric Spoelstra is an amazing coach. The man is a great coach, Hall of Fame coach. He's not the reason LeBron had a meltdown and end up losing to Dallas. But JJ Redick got to stop, man. The man is always trying to talk down on MJ and everybody from the 90s, the 80s. If you're not from the 2Ks, you're not good, or you played in a watered down era. There's always something negative to say about anything pre-2K, because basketball really begins in 2000. Anything previously was garbage. The players weren't good. What's crazy is, but here is the kicker. There are more Hall of Famers from the 80s and 90s than the 2Ks, by a mile. There are way more Hall of Famers from the 80s, 90s compared to the 2Ks. It's not even close. Yet this is the best era. But majority of the Hall of Famers, the greats, came from the early eras. You just got to think and use your brain, man. So JJ Redick just assumed more teams equates to watered down. I guess he didn't do his research. You got to always do your research. If you're going to talk about certain things, you got to do your research, man. Get the information so you don't put out false, inaccurate information talking about there were 90 players added. It was 15 men on a roster when that started in the LeBron era. The league expanded the roster to 15 men. Prior to the 2Ks, it was always 12-man roster. So this man don't even know what he's talking about. We could go back and forth all day, but the proof is in the pudding. There are more top 75 from the 80s and 90s than the 2Ks, by a mile. So the league increased the roster spot from 12 to 15 during the LeBron era. That's when that change happened, so that has nothing to do with MJ. This man don't know what he's talking about. As usual, he's just talking. Also, during JJ Redick, little speech, he said he was talking about the regular season, not the playoffs. So if that's the case, who cares? If all the greats are in the playoff, why would it matter about the regular season? You still got to beat all those great players and teams to win it all. So it's pointless. If you're not talking about the playoffs when it really matters, then who cares? Look at it this way. If every team played a few, weaker competition here or there just to make it to the playoff, to face the best of the best in the playoff, why would it matter if all the talent is in the playoffs? This dude just be talking. Let's be honest. If LeBron wants JJ to stop doing this madness, he could tell him, yo, chill, man, chill out with that. But LeBron wants JJ to go on podcasts and say stuff like this, because he's trying to elevate LeBron. And this shows you LeBron's characteristic, because no greats would even allow somebody who they're cool with or friends with to be speaking down on other greats in other eras. That's just disgusting, man. But this is who they claim is the GOAT. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm surprised Gilbert Arenas took the stance he took, because normally he's the one saying what JJ Redick is saying. In most situations, he's saying something in that arena. So the fact that, he took another approach and he's actually speaking truth, he's not lying, because he could have piled on. Let's be honest. If Gilbert Arenas wanted to, he could have piled on to the lie, but he actually spoke the truth. And I commend him for that, man. But as always, I'll holla. As always, we just talking basketball. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share. Holla at your boy.
It's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about the game. I'ma say it. It's all about the game.